Good morning. Is that Joe? It's muffled for some reason. Good morning, everyone. This is Wednesday, July 24th, 2015. Let's see, it's summer, right? Did we have the summer solstice? Okay, so Sunday. Okay, so it's summer. It's hot. What's the temperature here? 4,000?
Over 105 all week.
Okay.
Isn't it June?
It's June. It's still June, but it's summer. Okay.
93 degrees right now.
93 degrees. How's the weather in California? So your volume went very low, Dennis. It was nice and clear earlier when we were chatting.
Is it any better?
No? What did somebody do? Let me check on my end.
Okay.
There you go. So you took the towel off the top of it?
Oh.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
The towel's still on it. All right, good. Okay, so today we're doing employment planning. We'll do a quick 5-minute recap of what we've done Monday and Tuesday, and then we're going to start today talking about the interview process. So today's notes, I think, were pretty comprehensive of information that you should have. The good news is you can go back to this at any time in the future. You can go back to your calendar, click on today, go to look at today's event, and you have the notes there. Better would be to copy it into a document. So you open up the event, go to details, click, select all, copy it, and put it in a document called employment planning. And put that in your folder on your drive called employment planning. That would be the best thing to do to have these notes. So here, to recap here, at Larson, we take a proactive employment plan, which means we don't wait for employers to say we're looking to hire people. We find the employers we want. We create a plan to get them to hire us. It might take 3 months, 5 months, who knows, a year to get them. In the meantime, we do what other people do. We get a job to pay the bills as we're waiting for our plan. We don't fall into the trap of other people continuing to do that, and we don't trade our freedom or our lives, our time, to end up doing something we're not happy doing. There's just no excuse for that. It's not necessary. And with the tools out there of the internet, you can find, everyone can find a position that they want. Now, I want to say one other thing, that as part of everybody's career, you should always have a hobby. And if you're going to have a hobby, you should have a hobby that generates money instead of it being a hobby that costs you money. Well, you usually have to cost you money, but that's called an investment if you're going to make money. So, for example, 20, 30 years ago, stamp collecting, 40 years ago, stamp collecting was a big hobby. People would spend money to buy stamps, and then they would trade stamps, but at the end of their life, they had an asset that they could sell. And hopefully, if they had done a good job on buying stamps, the value of that collection was what? Higher. Yeah, it was higher than what they had done. So it's a hobby they like doing, and they could make money doing it. Baseball cards would be another example, right? You start doing it as a kid, you're buying all these cards, you get older, you learn to trade cards, and you keep collecting, and then one day you have this collection that's worth a lot of money. Another thing people did when I was growing up was comic book collections. Same type of thing. It's a hobby, you like it, but you decide to do it, and you invest money, and then you learn to trade them back and forth, and then you have something of value. knew a kid in high school, a friend of mine, he had a beer can collection. And the only problem with that is it really starts taking up a lot of space. You know, if you have 5,000 beer cans, it's not that easy to do. So part of your personal plan should be to have a hobby. And if you're going to have a hobby, why not find a hobby that you can also make money out of, as opposed to just spending money doing? You know, like let's say, for example, you like golf. Say golf was your hobby. That's never going to make you money unless you play for money. But that's a thing that's an expensive sport that you're going to keep spending your money buying new clubs, more clubs, better clubs, different clubs, gloves, shoes, all kinds of junk that you can't even imagine. Tapes, videos, how to do it. You're going to invest, and you never get anything out of it other than frustration because golf sucks. I mean, it's just not a fun hobby for most people, but a lot of people do it. So it's best to choose a hobby that you can make money doing, that generates money as well. And that becomes an asset that has value that you can sell in the future. So that's the part of the employment plan. The practical parts of it are to use the Google Cloud to help you create your plan. So starting with Drive, what should you have on the Drive? Okay, starting higher up or more basic, a folder. You should have a folder on your Drive called Employment or called Work. Me? Okay, you can call it Me. So you start with the folder, and then you want to have subfolders in that folder. So one subfolder would be Resume. And I would have a subfolder in the Resume folder called Old Resumes. Because if I wanted to find my resume, I wouldn't want to have to go searching through a whole bunch of resumes. I want to have, here's my current resume, but oh yeah, I want to find that other resume. So I'd have my other resume in a separate folder. And then in that folder, I'd have a folder called Cover Letters. So I'd have a folder called Employment. Okay. Then I have a subfolder.
Okay, my question is, how do we create a...
The same way you create a folder.
So
Okay, how do we create a subfolder, Tim?
You go to your Drive, go to New, or no, create a subfolder.
You go inside your folder and right click on name, you know, different folder.
Okay, so there's always more than one way to do it. So if you start it, you're at the thing called My Drive, right? There's a button called New, right? You click on New, and you can create a new folder. If you go into that folder, and then you type in Employment. If you go into that folder, so on the top of your page it says Employment, and you click New, you can create a new folder. That folder is inside the folder, and that folder is called Resume. And when you're in your Resume folder, then you click New, and you can create a new folder inside of your Resume folder called Old Resumes. Going back one level, going up one level, I would create another folder called Resume. So now I have an employment folder. So everybody create an employment folder in your Drive. So you just go to My Drive, click on New, and you have a choice of folders. A folder, document, spreadsheet. What else do you have, Tim? What are the other choices?
Forms, drawings, maps.
Forms, drawings, maps?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So you, under New, you have other things. So you want to create a new folder, and you call the folder Resume. And if you repeat it and you create a new folder, you call it cover letters. And I would create a folder called Other. And inside of that folder, I might have one called Certificates.
So you open that one up.
Yeah. You open a folder, and then you go to New, and you create a folder. So you create a folder inside of the folder.
That's where I'm at right now.
Oh, so I'm in that folder.
Hmm?
How do you get the resume in that folder?
How do you get the resume in that folder? Okay.
Certificates.
So, where is your resume now? Okay, so you would select it and right-click on it. It says Move.
That's where I just am.
Click on your resume.
Right click.
Should be not. Your resume should not be open. So it should be where you see it in your directory. Okay, or you can just left-click and drag it. You can left-click it and drag it to the folder you want it to go to. Or you can right-click it and drag it. Or right-click and drag, yeah.
I know that in the past they've said you have like certain resumes for depending on what type of job you're going for. Would that be something like a subfolder you put in your resumes, different resumes you have?
Yeah, so that's what I call old resumes.
Okay, so the old resumes should be in a subfolder in your resume.
Right. So for me, I would just want to have my current resume in my resume folder because I don't want to accidentally send the wrong folder. I mean the wrong resume.
So put current resume inside the resume.
Inside resume, yeah.
Inside resume.
Yeah.
Current resume.
So in this folder, in this employment folder, I would want to have everything I could possibly need in there. If I needed any kind of permits or licenses or pictures.
That'd be like for our forklift and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would have all of these in my employment folder. And I'd always keep it updated, so at any time I know exactly where all of my stuff is. If I received letters of recommendation, if I receive letters of recommendation or citations or awards or anything, I would put those in this folder called Other. And I would have possibly subfolders inside of there.
And a subfolder is another folder.
Yeah, it's just a folder inside a folder. And you can have subfolders of subfolders of subfolders. You can go and get really kooky. You can be very OCD about this. Okay, so we start with our resume. And then I have another folder called Interview. And one of the things I put in there is the 5-50-55 plan, the 555 plan. Which I'm going to pull up, and we can go out and look at that together. Okay, so I have it called the 555 worksheet. Oh, I'll open up this one first. Okay, so for people in California, the 555 should be an open office, or I mean,
Class.
yeah, open class. Yes. Well, I'll do that.
Oh, you just gotta go to, you don't have any, you go open.
Okay, so I'm going to take the worksheet.
Yeah, okay.
Available to everybody.
Well, it should be just your email address and your tax. Right, and then go to over course. Okay, now go all the way down, all the way down. Rest of the down. And then go okay, we got it, we got it.
Okay, so I'm making a copy of this and I will share it. Okay, so I want everybody to go to the 1LTC LV. Yeah. It's in 1LTC LV. Yeah, this is June. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to put a link on Google Plus for it also.
Okay. Oh, you changed it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so if you can't find the document, you can go back to Google Plus, and I just posted the worksheet there. Now, what is the thing to do when you get a worksheet? You get something off the drive. What's the first thing you do? You go off the drive. Or you will. You open it up. You've got me in there, Jesse in there, Rachel in there. File, make a copy. It's going to make a copy and put it in your drive. Yeah, you see it in your drive like that, you can right click on it.
Well, on you can share it.
See, 1 second, we don't have nothing.
Right here, like this. Yeah, so you can right click it here, you open it up, that. Now we have Tim in there. Please make copies of this. You don't want to be collaborating on this on one thing. Okay? Another way to find it, go to your drive, you search, type 5-50-5, and then push the magnifying glass. And it's going to come up. Okay, so there's multiple ways to do things in Google.
It explains there.
Okay, so for California, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for this document.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
There too. There's 550. It's in there in your open file. Okay. 550. 550 works. Yeah. You open it download it, so it's open now. And that's it. That's the same thing. That's it. Yeah. See right there?
Click on it. Right click on it, and you click copy.
Well, you can not get it on, but you can you can actually
Okay, so does everybody have the document up? Who does not have the document? Everyone has it? Robert, you have it? On the screen, you have that?
Is it right here? It's on black.
Huh?
It has a black back.
Well, you're not looking at the right one.
and then oh, you good.
This is correct.
Okay. Oh, so, yeah, so you okay.
Up there, type 5-50.
And this is the one that I had.
Okay, so here go to
Now, the first thing you do, file, use the name, or you could read it that way. So you want to be on your copy. Okay. So now you're on your copy. If this is copy, you're on your copy. Have it? Okay. So, how are you guys doing in California, Dennis?
Right.
Anytime you make a copy, where does it go to on your drive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold it.
Your drive. Like,
Reprobate. There you go. Reprobate works out.
on your drive. So Dennis, how are you doing?
We're okay, Joe. We're okay.
Okay. So now, what I want is Michael, Rachel, Ed, go to the tab that has the 555 at the top. And close
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Works.
line.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Oh, okay.
Close this.
I was thinking that how to get in, you don't actually get a lot of time. It's just right. You know? You have to. So, right. Okay.
Anybody here. So if you look at it, you see a bunch of people. Yes.
Right. And then now, so everyone should be there. Okay.
Jesse, you're still there. Tim, you're still in there. Have the tab opened up. All right.
Just put in your,
This is 555. What about me? Close your tab. 555 plan. You should only have one open. Okay. You're going to say copy of, or it's going to have whatever you change the name.
Which one do you prefer, the copy or the?
Copy. Here.
So you can close the new one?
Yeah.
and then it doesn't make sense.
Top of your screen. Have a tab. Boom. Here. Don't see any other tabs open on the screen. You have another. How many issues? How many? You made a copy already? Time is racing. everybody should have their 555 plan or their worksheet up. And you'll see there's 3 sections, the 5 seconds, 50 seconds, and the 5 minutes. And then there's a little description of what it's about. But before we get into that, there's the next part, which below says good, bad, ugly. What does that mean? Huh? Of who? Right. So the good, the bad, and the ugly is your assessment of the interviewer. Because are you going to treat them the same way if they're having a good day versus if they're having a bad day? Right. You treat them differently. So, before we get into this, what I want to focus on is you need to be aware of the other person. Okay, we said before, what is the one sure way to be able to sell anything to somebody who needs it and has the ability to pay? So in this school, in our sales thing, we only sell things to people who A, can use them, and B, they have the ability to pay. We don't try to sell things to people who can't afford it, they can't pay for it. We don't sell things to people that they don't need or can't use. And if you do that and you're very clear on that, I will sell you something that you can use. You might not think you need it. My job is to persuade you that you do, that you understand you do need it. That's fair game. If I try to persuade you to buy something you don't need, we don't do that. That's not good. That's not kosher. But if you need it or you could use it, it's going to make your life better. Just because you think you don't need it, that's not acceptable to me as a salesman because you're wrong. If I left it up to my kids to go to the dentist, when would they go to the dentist? Never, right? Because all they're thinking about is the immediate pain of when they go to the dentist, but it's scary, it's not fun, etc. So, as a salesman, you should only sell to people who need what you have to offer and they can afford it. Don't go after people who have money, but they don't need stuff, or people who need stuff, but they can't afford it. It just ends up bad, it's unnecessary, and you don't end up being a good person. So the number one way to sell things to anybody is you start with people who have something they need, you have something they need, and they have the ability to buy it. At that point, you will always be successful if you can what? Not upsell. If I know there's something you need, and you can afford it, and I have it, I can sell it to you. What is the one sure way that I can always get you to buy it? Well, those are different techniques of things, but I'm talking about an overall strategy. What's the overall strategy? That if I can do this one thing, I will be able to sell everything to you if you can afford it and you need it. What do I need to do to be able to do that? Well, that doesn't always work. That doesn't always work. Okay? We do get people to believe in you. If people believe in you, they will believe you. And sometimes you can't get people to believe in you in the amount of time you have. But in this scenario, what I'm going to talk about, it's 100% of the time. If you can do this, and you're talking to somebody who has the money, they can afford it, and they need it, you'll always be able to sell it to them. 100% of the time. You won't be able to refuse. No, you're going to pay for it. Okay? The answer is if you can read their mind. Yeah. If you have money and you could use this thing, if I could read your mind, I could sell it to you all the time because I know exactly what your objections are, right? So I can overcome the objections. No matter what you would be thinking, if you can afford it, you need it, whatever thought you were thinking of why you were saying no, I would know that, right? And I would have an answer for that. Well, I know that you're thinking you don't need it. But here's why you do. And you would eventually just have to give up because I could read everything that you were saying. Well, we can't literally read people's minds. Yeah. Massive intelligence comes along. But we can't right now. So we have to go by clues that people give us about what's going on in their mind. And so what are some of the clues that we have? Body language. Okay. What else? No, but you're in an interview. You're in an interview. Okay. By looking at them. Okay, what else? Go sight. How they look. Okay, by what we hear. How about the tone of their voice? How about how they ask questions? And what about other sounds they make when they're asking you a question? Yeah, right. Okay. Most people are only focused on their own brain when they're in an interview. You're just thinking about you. But you'll always be successful if you can read their mind. And the only way we have today to read their mind is through our senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, etc. So an important thing to do is become aware and try to be able to see what's going on within that person's mind. Well, so their body language is sight, right? Because if you're blind, does their body language matter? No. You can't tell what their body language is. But that's why we have this form. And it says good, bad, ugly. That gets you to focus on, is this guy in a good mood? Is he in a bad mood? Is he in a really ugly mood? Because I can promise you, the person that's in there has their own mood. They're not a little robot. They have their emotional stuff of how they feel that day, just like all of us. They might be behind schedule, they might be ahead of schedule, something bad might have happened, they might have had road rage coming to work. You just don't know unless you try to figure it out. And so good people in interviews are as focused on that person as they are on themselves. Great people in interviews are 100% focused on the other person because they don't have to think about what they're going to say. They're prepared. They're absolutely, completely prepared. They don't have thoughts of, do they think I'm ugly? What does my resume say? I have to remember to say these 5 things. They're not thinking about that. Their whole focus is on you. What's going on in your mind? I just said that thing. Did you remember what I said? You're paying attention. And there are tricks for doing that. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about first 5 seconds, 50 seconds, and 5 minutes. So I want to start at the back part, 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, at the 5-minute mark, they're basically, Robert, you're on this form. You need to get on your form. You need to make a copy, and then go on your copy. Just go up to File, left click, make a copy, and then close this folder, this tab when you get there. Okay, so in 5 minutes, they pretty much have made up their mind. Most of the time. And most of the time, within 5 minutes, they know whether they're going to hire you or whether they like you. They might not want you to know because they might have set aside 15 minutes for the interview and they're just not going to tell you. And they're going to act polite, or they're going to act negative, or they're going to act however they're going to act. Usually, almost always, within the first 5 minutes, by 5 minutes, they know how it's going to be. And so at that point, you want to make a conscious effort to try to figure out where are we? You know, how do I think this person is feeling about me? What are the questions they've asked me? Are they just asking me questions to fill the time, or are they asking me real hypothetical questions? What would you do if? Or what did you do when? And if you find you're not going to get the position, but it's one of the people on your list, what should you do? Well, let me set this up visually. Okay, 0 minutes to 20 minutes. The interview is going to go 20 minutes. You're right here. You're at 5 minutes. They have a pretty good idea whether they're going to hire you. Maybe they just said, you know what, this is the person. Maybe they said this is not the to themselves, not to you. They said to themselves, yeah, this is the person. So if we plotted it, it would probably look like that. Okay? Some people, they've already made up their mind. Yes. Some people, they've already made up their mind no. Most people, they haven't really decided, but they have a leaning to where they're going to go. They like you or they don't like you. So you could be on this side. They haven't decided, but they're leaning towards no, right? Or they haven't decided, but they're leaning towards yes. They don't get confused and think they're going to talk, and then at the very end they're going to decide. They're pretty much decided right here about how they feel about you. You might be interview number 1. So it would be unlikely that they're not going to interview the other people. At the end, they're going to say, we're going to get back to you. But what I want you to focus on is that this 5 minutes, they pretty much have decided how they feel about you. So let's say you're over here on the yes side. What is your strategy for the next 15 minutes? What's your strategy? If they've decided, I like you, I would like to hire you, depending upon the other people I have, what should you do for the next 15 minutes? What should your strategy be?
Leave.
What? Well, no, because you're there. You can't leave. Your strategy should be don't blow it. Like you're playing a baseball game, right? You're ahead. All you have to do to win is just not make a mistake. Don't blow it. Now, what if you're on this side of the line? You're on the, I haven't decided yet, but I don't think this is our person. So now you're playing the game, you're down by 2 runs. It's the 9th inning. You say, screw it, we lost, what's the point?
Gotta play catch up. Gotta play catch up.
Right, so you want to catch up. So ideally, you want to focus on where did the thing go bad? What did I say that pushed me backwards? And you want to go back to that and reconstruct it, if you can. Okay, where was it that I said something bad? What do I need to do to replace that? What most people do is they go back to something they said good that the guy liked. Okay, let's say, just hypothetically, you want to work at a cookie making plant. The guy says, what kind of cookies do you like? And you say, I like chocolate chip. If he says, oh, chocolate chip are my favorite cookies too. Great answer. I love that answer. Chocolate chip cookies are great. And then he asks a question that you give a bad answer. What kind of shoes do you like? Well, I like loafers. Oh, loafers. Okay, that wasn't a good answer. What most people will do is they'll go back and talk about chocolate chip cookies, thinking, I want to get him focused on the things he likes about them, right? Should you do that? No. You want to fix the problem. The problem is the loafer problem. You didn't like that answer. So what most people do is they find out, okay, good, things are going good. Oh, we're at 5 minutes. It doesn't really feel too good. What happened? When did the wheels fall off the wagon? Or maybe as soon as you said it, oops, that was the wrong answer. I need to come back to that. I need to clarify that. And what you want to do is you want to fix the problem that you said. Don't think that by accentuating the positive, that they're gonna forget about the negative. You know, I like you because you like chocolate chip cookies, but you wear loafers. I don't like loafers. I like people who wear lace-up shoes. Don't keep talking to me about chocolate chip cookies because I already know you like them. I got a problem with the loafers. You got to go back and fix that problem to get on the other side of the line.
How?
Well, it depends if the person's in a good, bad, or ugly mood. Okay? So if the person's in a good mood, you might want to talk about why you like loafers. Here's why I like loafers. When I was a little kid, we had an earthquake. Well, I'm saying if they're in a good mood, so you can talk to them. Okay, when I was a little kid, we had an earthquake in our house, and my mother said, "Run outside, everybody." I didn't have time to lace up my shoes, so I ran out in my bare feet, and I got cut on a piece of glass. So I've always had this thing about I need to be able to get my shoes on immediately. I like lace-up shoes. It's just I just have this thing from when I was this kid. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good answer. Now I understand that. Okay? You're not philosophically opposed to lace-up shoes, which some people are. Oh, you don't like lace-up? You're one of those loafer people? So a lot of people that have lace-up shoes, what do they think about people that wear loafers? Lazy, right. Okay? So the guy said, you say loafers, he might think, lazy. You got to fix the problem. So when it gets to 5 minutes, you really need to focus on where are we in this thing. If I feel good, I'm not going to not blow it. I'm going to follow their lead. Because they like me. They're not going to lead me into dark waters. They're going to be throwing me softballs.
What happens when they do?
Do what?
I had a really good interview with someone at the Hilton, and the girl knew that I had very little experience as far as food was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
She turned the paper over and saw the VP's name on the back as one of my references, asked me. It immediately changed the whole after 5 minutes. I said, how do you know her? Like,
Yeah.
I was a spy.
Okay, so that's an anomaly situation. So that's an anomaly thing, and the bad part about that is they got surprised, right?
Yeah, she liked
They
it.
got
She knew it
surprised.
well. She turned it over and saw the rest of it, and then she was done with it.
Yeah, so like one of the first rules, so again, in reading people's minds, you really don't want to surprise people unless it's a good surprise. Okay, so there,
Well, I mean, how was she supposed to know?
well, proper planning prevents poor performance. Or if you're in law school, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. It's 6 P's, but we're not in law school, so it's 5 P's. So how do you know? Well, you got to start by trying to be observant. Because if you're only focused on what's going on in your brain, or what's on your piece of paper, or how you feel, what are you not focused on?
Yeah.
Them. So you first of all have to be observant. And one of the things is you don't want to surprise somebody. You don't want to have a surprise. Or if you have a surprise, you need to fix that problem.
I didn't realize it was a problem.
Well, but now you do, right? Okay. Well, you should have been aware as soon as she flipped it over and you noticed there was a difference in her demeanor. And so there, what do you need to do? How do you fix problems? Right. We have a discussion about it. We explain it. Okay, well, here's how I got that guy's name on my piece of paper. I happened to interview him. I was blah, blah at the library or on the bus or something, sat next to him. And he said, you know what? You should apply for work here at Hilton. Now that's a person who now all of a sudden is, okay, I have the blessing from up above. Is it easier for me to hire Gina with the blessing from above? Or is it easier for me to say no if she has a blessing from above? Easier to say yes, because if you say no, you better have a good reason for not hiring her if the people above said they want to hire her.
Because they did check. She went back and checked why she didn't hire me. and it looked like the girl basically felt like I would be watching her because I was.
Okay, well, okay. So we are at time, but we're just going to go for a few more minutes. So the 5-minute mark is where you need to take a real hard assessment of where are we. And if you feel you're on the yes side, then the thing is to follow them and just don't blow it. If you're on the no side, you want to do two things. You want to try to catch up, but if you really want to work there, you want to find out what you need to do to get the job the next time around. When you go back for an interview again, oh, you've already interviewed here. What happened? Well, I asked the person when I interviewed. I got a sense I wasn't going to be hired, so I asked him. This goes back to Hero School. So I asked him, what can I do better because I really want to work here? And they're going to say blah, 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 blah. So when you go in for interview number 2, say, the last time I was here, I wasn't ready, or I didn't have the necessary skills. I asked them what I need to do. They said, you need to do this. I did that, and now I came back. I'm ready. Now you've overcome. The file says don't hire this person because you went back and you're prepared. So the first 50 seconds, follow instructions exactly and completely in a confident, pleasant manner. If they say, have a seat, does it help you if you say, I prefer to stand?
No.
Yeah, you follow instructions exactly what they say. Because a lot of the things that they're trained to do is hire people who are going to do what we tell them to do. What we want them to do. Get them to say to themselves, I think I like this person. Act in such a way that they're going to do that. Be complimentary to them. One of the ways to do that is you mirror how they act. What do you know of us? You have to be prepared for these questions. Why are you here? What do you know of us? Who are you? If you can't answer these questions in a compelling fashion, then you probably won't get hired unless the good people don't show up for the interview. Okay? And again, these are people in a good mood, a bad mood, and an ugly mood. If somebody's in a bad mood, you just want to be short. They ask you a question, you don't start by saying, well, 2 weeks ago, or, I was thinking about that myself this morning. That's the kind of thing you say if they're in a good mood and you're bonding with them. Hey, great question. If they're not in a good mood and they say, why do you want to work here? You don't say, well, that's really a good question. I've been thinking about that for a long time. I did some research. You just answer the question. Why do you want to work here? Because, and it starts with the word because. So if somebody's not in a good mood and they ask you a question, because is usually a good answer to start with, because of this. If somebody's in a good mood and you can have a conversational thing with them, what they teach you in law school to say, to start the answer with, it depends. Why do you want to work here? Well, it kind of depends on what I'm going to do for my future. Right now, I think the best thing I want to do is blah, 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 or this other thing, but that's conversational. If they're in a really ugly mood, you want to be even more precise. You don't want to say, you feel like you need a hug. You don't want to say that. Because they just want to get whatever it is over with. They might have someplace else they need to be. They tried to get out of today's interview. Their boss said, no, go finish the interviews. Okay, I'll do it. So from this, the wrap up for today is from this sheet. This is a very powerful, important sheet because it gets you to think in terms of time. That the interview process has specific segments. When you first meet them, when they first see you, very first instant they lay eyes on you, is you have to be prepared. The first 50 seconds after you shake hands and do that whole thing is very important. First 5 minutes is very important. The other thing that's very important is how are they? And I can promise you, probably maybe one of the other people that you're going to be competing with for a job are going to be thinking about how the other person is feeling. So if you go in there prepared to be identifying in the first 5 seconds, are they in a good mood, a bad mood, or an ugly mood? If you're prepared for that, so before you see them, the instant before you see them, you say to yourself, okay, are they in a good mood, a bad mood, or an ugly mood? And you open the door and you walk in and say hello. That's the first thing on your mind when you walk in the door. And you're focused on them. Then that will help you for the rest of the time. Yeah.
You use the same worksheet for a phone.
For a phone interview, it's slightly different, but it's the same type of process. But if it's a phone interview, what can you do? How can you read their mind on a phone interview? It's only audio, right? There's no smell, there's no sight. It's just how do they sound. And so you have to be hyper aware of all the little things that they do.
Director, what do you mean right here on the 5 minutes where it says formalities?
What does formalities mean?
If they're not interested, they may go through formalities.
Okay, the formalities means I already know I'm not going to hire you, but I'm just going to go through the rest of the interview because we give people 20 minutes.
They want to see if you're competent. If they don't, they're just going to talk about random stuff.
Well, they're just going to finish the interview because they allotted 20 minutes. They're not going to say at minute 5:01, you know what, I've decided, Tamika, you don't fit for us, leave.
They'll say, oh, do you have any questions for us?
So that might be, the formality would be, we're going to continue the interview even though it's really over. You're not going to get the job, but the formality is I give you 20 minutes.
You know, sometimes when they say, okay, well, we have to make a decision within 2 days, we'll let you know within 48 hours.
Yeah, that should be common.
That's not bad.
When they say that? No, because you could be interview number 1, you could be interview number 2. They might want to check references, they might want to do things. Now, if they're in a bad mood, an ugly mood, you're probably just going to leave it at, great, thank you. Okay? If they're in a good mood and you have a rapport, you might be able to say, well, you know, how am I doing? How do you feel? Okay, if they're, you know, if you think you have the job, no, I would not ever do that. I might say, well, between us girls, how does it look? Just something joking if they really like you. Because people, at the end of the day, people want to hire people they like. It's not people, you can hire a lot of people who can do the job. It's the people you like.
What if it's a man and a woman? Like you're the interviewer, or it's a woman and a man.
The interviewer's a man and you're a woman?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, but you still have rapport, but you can't say like between us women or, you know.
Yeah, well, if you have a really good relationship going on and he's wearing loafers, you certainly can.
Okay.
It all yeah, so you just have to be aware. So the other takeaway is focus on that person, try to read their mind, try to understand what they're doing, and know the reason they're there is to see if you are the person on the resume. Because they like that person on the resume. That's why that person on the resume is in there for the interview. They like that person. If you lose the job, you might have lost to somebody who's better than you. Period. They're just better than you. There's nothing you could do about it. You did your best. Nothing you can do about it, so don't worry about that. Okay, any last things, because we've gone way over, and I know it's the end of the week in California.
Huh? Interviewers will call you. Do you have to follow that, or you wait? Oh, yeah, you would wait. The question was, if the interviewer says, we'll call you, you just wait? Or should you
If they say we'll call you?
Yeah, they had a question, should you follow up? You should just wait for the call, correct?
Well, if they said, we'll call you, I would say, if I thought I was in the running, I would say when.
Okay.
Okay, you know, I ask a question like, okay, well, within when? If I thought I didn't do well, or if I didn't want the job after because, you know, you're also interviewing them. If I didn't want the position, I would say, great, fantastic. And just leave it at that. If I said, I might say when, and if I was unsure, I'd say, okay, terrific, when do you think that might be? And they say a date, and I say, by the way, what could I have done better? Now, if you did a great job, what are they going to say? You were great. If you didn't do a great job, so it doesn't look good, what are they going to say? Yeah, they'll probably tell you something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, if they're just going through the formality, they're going to say, no, you did great. And what they mean by that is you did the best you could, you're just not good enough. Okay? Now you know. Take it off your list. Okay? Okay, what else in California?
Any other questions, anyone? We're good, Ed.
Okay, well, have a nice weekend, everyone. We're going to pick this up on Monday also. We're going to keep doing this next week.
What, tomorrow, anything, is there hangout tomorrow?
Oh, wait, today's Wednesday.
That's what I.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll pick this up tomorrow.
Okay. We'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought it was Thursday. Now, why is Joe hiding behind that monitor? Why is the camera?
I did that all
Camera's behind or something.
No, but actually, wait a minute.
There we go.
There
That
you
was
go.
better.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, bye. Bye, Joe.
right.